Hello! In this video, we are going to talk about the large buildings at the center of the map for Eclipse Town. So this is the hunter spawn, and if we head in the direction of the center of the map, we have two large buildings, right? This is the building to the right of hunter spawn, right in front of it, and the other large building is in the back left corner over here, right? We're going to start by talking about the building near hunter spawn. Turns out many times you're going to find hiders launching their bow like at the top of the building, specifically right up there at the beginning of the game. Right? Sometimes you're going to see that. Right, but going into the inside, this is the downstairs. For the downstairs, we first have these note blocks and flower pots. There's basically a total of 4 flower pots. Right, so just memorize that. Right, you also shouldn't see a flower pot on the very top right here. Right, that's typically the most common spot to see. Right, but also you might see a flower pot here right in the center of it, right, that would be fake as well. Typically, whenever you see a note block hiding here, it's typically going to be in those same exact spots. So if you see like a note block in the center, or if you see a note block go way too high up. So it's those same spots, basically. Right, going over here to this table. For this table right here, there's only one empty spot that a hider can hide. So basically, you see a hider on top of this empty spot, then that would be fake. Typically a flower powder cake, of course. Right, at this edge of the wall right here, there's this spot right here, there's a slot that a hider can hide in, right? It's the only slot that we have over here. And so, basically you can find all sorts of blocks hide here. So if you see a hider in this specific slot, it would be fake. Also, since there's only a total of 2 flower pots here, so if you see a third flower pot on top of them, then that would be fake. For the most part, that's it for the downstairs. Right, but there are a few other spots, like for instance, like a flower pot hiding on top of these leaves is fake. A flower pot on top of this slab specifically is also fake. That's pretty much it for the downstairs. Right, so going up here, this is the middle, this is sort of, I call it the second layer. We have hay bales and cauldrons. Turns out that the hay bale stack and the cauldron stack are mirrors of each other. So it makes it really easy. Like, they're literally identical to each other, but they're just simply mirrors of each other. The spots that I would focus on, however, is if you see like a staircase of hay bales or a staircase of cauldrons. Right, that would be fake. That's pretty much it for that. For these bookshelves and flower pots, for the bookshelves, it's pretty easy, right? The pattern, for the most part, goes 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2. The only exception is that we have only a single bookshelf right here. So basically, whenever you see 3 bookshelves on top of each other, like for instance like this, or like this, then that would be fake. As for the flower pots, right, there's basically just a total of 6 flower pots, so you just have to memorize that. That's pretty much it for this pretty much it for this second layer. We also have this outside area where hiders can get on top of. Right, and going to the third layer, this is our third layer. For the most part, you're not going to find hiders on the third layer too much. Right, typically when you find hiders up here, they're going to be on the edge, like right here. Right, they'll be over here. Right, or they'll be at the other edge over here. Right, where they're hiding right here, or they'll be launching their bow at hunters in the beginning of the game. But as for the block piles, you typically don't even find hiders in these block piles. But if you want to memorize them for fun, right here we have 3 flower pots. Up there we have 3 flower pots, and usually are never going to even find a note block hiding up there. And over here you have a staircase of 3 anvils, right? A 3 block staircase of anvils, but if you see 2 anvils in a row, that's typically what you see there. Going over here, you have 3 flower pots surrounding these anvils. And I don't even think anything else is really that important. Like, none of this stuff is... Like, none of the block piles on the third layer are super important. And so that's basically it for this house, right? We basically talked about all the different block piles in the house. That's pretty much it for the first large building. Right, notice it connects to the center of the map. So basically, this is it for that building. Now we're going to go to the back left corner central building. This is what the downstairs of this building looks like. It sort of has the same structure, because again, many of the buildings in Eclipse Town have the same exact structure. They just have different block piles. Right? Turns out once you enter it, you have bookshelves. But I won't worry about the bookshelves too much. I'd say the only spot to specifically know about is if you see a bookshelf behind the stack, like that. Right? You also encounter 2 cakes as you enter the building, so just memorize there's 2 cakes here. Right? You have basically 2 things on this table, right? There's only 1 missing piece, so if you do actually see this missing piece filled, like for instance a cake or a flower pot here, then that would be fake. Over here you have some cakes and flower pots, but again, I wouldn't really worry about this stuff too much. Right? So don't worry about it too much, but just to observe it, right? Be familiar with it. For these anvils, right, this is basically what the note blocks are replacing. Like, if you recall, in the other building, right, at this corner we had note blocks, but instead we have anvils here. Right? The way I look at it is we have 2 anvils. Basically, we have 1 anvil on each edge, right? We have 1 anvil on the left side, 1 anvil on the right side. But as for the rest of it, we have 3 anvils on the top and 3 anvils on the bottom. So notice how I'm pointing at them: 3 anvils and 3 anvils. That's how I memorize the anvil stack. Right? Now, there are a few differences. Right? Notice that we have these leaves here, but hiders can't actually hide on top of the leaves for this building. Right? So you can't get on this. Then instead of hiding as a flower pot, turns out you can hide as a bookshelf here. So as you can see, if you see like a square of bookshelves like this, then that would be fake. And that's pretty much it for this downstairs area. Again, just like the previous building, we go up these stairs to get to the second layer. And notice, instead of hay bales and cauldrons, we have TNTs and bookshelves, right? And they're not the same structure, so these are not mirrors of each other like the previous building. Notice we actually do have a staircase of TNTs here, right? I guess that's just one thing to sort of memorize, but I wouldn't really worry about it too much. I don't know why I said that, but anyways, I won't worry about it too much. For these bookshelves, again, I wouldn't worry about it too much, so typically don't find hiders in those stacks. As for this area, instead of it being bookshelves and flower pots, we have a bunch of stuff, right? Furnaces on the left side, cauldrons on the right side, note blocks in the center. We have a singular cake and a singular flower pot. And notice that the furnace stack and the cauldron stack are literally the common structure that we see in the museum all the time, right? So really, same common structure in the museum. So if you ever see any deviation from that, like 2 on top of each other, or like you see a square on top of the stack, or if you see one that goes way too high up, then that would be fake. And for the cauldrons, the only thing you can really see for that deviation is if you see 2 in a row like that. That's basically it for this area. Right, going up to the 3rd layer, again, just like the previous building, you typically don't find hiders on the 3rd layer. But it turns out there's a lot more going on in this building than there is the other building, right? A little bit larger block piles, right? As for this thing right here, it's actually a little bit easier to memorize than the bookshelves that were in the other building, right? Here you have 4 flower pots, right? Typically when you see a flower pot here, it's going to be like a flower pot specifically right here, so that would be fake. Hiders can hide way too high up if they want, so like a flower pot that goes way too high up like this would be fake, right? And those spots can also be replaced with melons. Now again, these spots on the 3rd layer aren't that important to memorize, but you can always memorize them for fun because we love memorizing things for fun. Again, I'm going to keep saying that because it's a true fact. We like saying that, okay. Anyways, going up here, we have a little bit more going on than the previous building. Over here we have a total of 3 cakes. So if you ever see 4 cakes, right, like this, then that would be fake. Over here we have 3 melons and 2 flower pots. Over here, as you can see, we have a singular furnace and 3 flower pots. So if you see, for instance, 4 flower pots all together like that would be fake. For the TNTs, it's basically a 3-block staircase next to a 2-block staircase. So I guess if you see a TNT right here, then that would be fake. Or if you see it cubed off right here, then it's fake. Or if you see it squared off right here, then that would be fake. So that's pretty much it for this layer. Right, and really, we have these TNTs. I won't worry about the TNTs. And over here we have a bunch of other stuff, but I won't worry about this stuff, right? I like saying that. Don't worry about this stuff, right? This stuff you typically see on the outside is like hiders literally on the edge right there, right? Or at the other side near the TNT spot, right over here. You could also find hiders on this edge, right? Or hiders literally like over here, like here or right here. That's basically it for this building, right? So we've basically gone over the two central buildings, right? All of these buildings are basically connected to each other by these leaves, right? That's basically it for the two central buildings, and so that's pretty much it.